So you guys know Doom, right? You know, that demon killing game that is pretty universally liked by most gamers, except for uninformed dinguses saying it's pro-demon. Like, the game is literally about killing demons. It's the most anti-demon game out there. Whatever, that's not important to this video. Well, I guess it kind of is, at least the concept of Doom is a game. Because we're here to talk about mods, specifically for Doom, obviously. Whatever, that's not important to this video. Well, I guess it kind of is, at least the concept of Doom is a game, because we're here to talk about Doom mods. Even back when Doom came out in the 90s, modding the game was incredibly popular. Any kid with a level editor could make their own mediocre WAD and post it on some forum that they used on their mom's PC. Gradually, over time, as these tools became easier to access, these simple map packs turned into full episodes, rivaling that of what it had made themselves. Total conversion mods were made, which completely changed the core mechanics and maps of the game, effectively converting it into a completely different game at times. Even now, people are still releasing mods for this 30-year-old game, which just goes to show how much longevity it has in the gaming industry as a whole. But I'm not here to talk about the history of Doom modding or any of that fancy stuff. I'm here to specifically highlight one mod in particular. A mod so good that it almost feels like a game at sometimes, and that mod is Ashes 2063. Ashes is a conversion mod that is just absolutely fantastic. It's so good to the point where it beats out more feature-packed mods and conversions. It's effectively a mix of Doom and Fallout, which are coincidentally my two favorite series ever, which could lead to my bias towards this game, but moving on. It's also effectively straight from the mind of one dude, Vostiak, with some help from various other Doom modders and map creators, mainly Reformed Joe. But the sole creative engine behind most of the game was still Vostiak. So props to these lads, they've created what I'd like to call the best Doom total conversion mod out there. Like I said earlier, it's hard to even call it a mod since it basically changes the entire way the game is played. It takes everything Doom did and flips it into a completely almost unrecognizable experience. I actually got early build engine vibes from this one, like Duke Nukem 3D or Shadow Warrior, but we'll get to that more once we actually start the game. Now, before I begin, I highly recommend that you just go and pick up this game and play it through yourself. It recently got re-released with updated graphics and sprites before the second episode came out. The entire thing is a standalone project now. You don't even need a copy of Doom to play it. It comes with a free Doom WAD, and all you need to do is unzip the file and launch the executable. And did I mention the fact that it has an absolutely killer soundtrack? I couldn't find a way to naturally put this section in, but I desperately wanted to talk about this before we get to the game. The entire thing, for every episode, was done by John S. Weekly or Primeval Music. And if there's anything you take away from this video, it's that the soundtrack is absolutely all killer, no filler. It hits all the right notes for a video game. It's the synth-heavy 80s action movie soundtrack, and it's just great. You can find it linked in the description if you want to listen to it separately. It's fantastic. It fits the grungy, post-apocalyptic Mad Max vibes perfectly, too. It heightens the feel of every combat encounter and set piece. When you boot up the game and that menu music hits you for the first time, though, too, man, it's just good stuff. The music also dynamically changes at a certain point. In Map 2, you get jumped by some mutants and the track goes from a more explorative track to this thumping combat track. Not to mention that there's generally a good variety of tracks on offer. In both the game's social hub, it'll play a mellow guitar track to let you explore the area and meet new characters. I could sit here and gush about this music for a very long time, but I'll be moving on to the actual game part of the game now. So to start, the difficulties in this game are actually a bit more complicated than easy, medium, and hard. Some difficulties add more enemies and give you more ammo. Some, like Survival, however, give you less ammo and increase outgoing and incoming damage. For this video, I played on Survival, as I felt it was the best fit for this kind of challenge. This tutorial is basically the proving ground. It'll teach you the basics, jumping, crouching, and most importantly, the crowbar. The crowbar is your most effective tool, don't even underestimate it. You might think, oh, some silly FPS melee weapon, but it's more than that. Even later in the game, I found myself switching to it to conserve ammunition and killing melee enemies. Most melee enemies telegraph their attacks so well that you'll rarely get hit. And since we're playing on the difficulty that increases all damage, this thing can take down most enemies with one heavy attack. Your other melee option is a boot knife, which is good for sneak attacks, which are more of a key component in this game than you'd think. Don't let that distract you from the other starting weapon, a good old-fashioned 6-shooter revolver chambered in .45 automatic. And would you believe that it's my favorite gun in the game? It's got pretty good damage and it's nice and accurate. Ammo for this thing can be pretty tight early on, however, so save it for longer range and sticky situations. Another major component of this game is the inventory items, like this medkit here. They remind me more of the items in Hexen and Heretic rather than other build games. I suppose it's fitting considering that Hexen and Heretic are on EdTech as well. Basically, instead of being a sort of like, consumable item that depletes over time when you use it, it's just a single-use item. There's also pipe bombs, which you can get one of them in this level. They can be used as traps or as a standard throwable grenade type thing. You also get the bike. I mean, it works fine enough. The handling is slippery as all hell, but frankly it's a miracle that it works on the engine at all. Another important thing that are incredibly important for your playthroughs are secrets. Secrets in this game matter more than they do in most other mods and games. Like I said earlier, you get less ammo on this difficulty, so you're going to need more ammo from secrets, so you need to be on your A game when finding said secrets so you can have enough ammo to actually survive. This doesn't really matter, though the mod is short enough and it deals out enough ammo to the point where I was pretty much maxed out for most of it. The first one here is inside of this mini shooting range that costs 100 junk. Just kidding, you can kill the guy here at the gate and, do some sick parkour to get in. This first thug here is going to drop a 9mm autoloader, and in terms of guns, it's serviceable. Its damage is kind of bad and its accuracy is mediocre, but ammo for it is plentiful going forward. Okay, so you've got all this nice stuff, all these weapons, it's time for the real game now. So the first level here, Outskirts, is pretty damn good. It's well paced and introduces you to more of the key mechanics, like the thugs with 45 revolvers who drop you some heavy bullets. Also the shotgun guys who drop you the game shotgun, even though I found that in a secret here. In terms of FPS shotguns, this isn't as great across the board. It's got a nice spread, does really good damage, it can pretty much kill anything in a single hit on survival difficulty. Honestly, nothing else at this level is really note, though. You can find a regen stem here in a secret. There's stems in this game, yes, I don't really use them. I just hoard them and use them, like, during the final boss fight. I probably should use them more. I mean, that would tend to make me do better in gameplay, but whatever. You can also find a machine here in the back near the end of the level that makes heavy bullets for you, which is nice. And after that, the level is over. You hop on your bike which is running low on gas, so you have to make a pit stop in gang territory. You decide to wait till nightfall before you infiltrate to find some gas. You pick up a solar-powered lantern here too. I already had one. There was one in the tutorial. Like the name implies, if you stand in sun, it'll replenish its charge, which is shown by the blue bar here in the corner. You can only hold your pistols and the crowbar when you have it equipped. This level is mostly about fighting mutants, despite the fact that the splash text said it was supposedly gang territory. You also meet the cannibals here, which are effectively the pink demons from Doom. Whether it's intentional or not, a lot of the enemies here have very obvious analogies in Doom, like the shotgun and pistol guys, who are obviously just the shotgun guys, and the zombie men, or the bug dogs, which are, yes, those little dog things, and they're called bug dogs, or pit fiends, I don't know. The game calls them bug dogs and pit fiends, which is obviously the imp. Like I said, intentional or not, I just thought that was pretty funny. The pinky cannibals here show up in the tutorial, but if you skipped it, this is the first time that they actually show up in the real game. I'm also going to make a comment on the level design, which is absolutely fantastic. Like I said earlier, it feels more like a build game like Duke or Shadow Warrior. You can progress through these levels by blowing them up. I'd also compare it to a build game more because of the environmental interaction. There's all these props scattered around the levels, and some of which you can break, like these boxes and these trash cans that actually have items in them for you to use. The entire environments, too, they're all just detailed so well. It nails the almost like a real place aspect that 90s games were always trying to go for, and I love it. Anyways, once you go through this diner-style joint, we go out here and find an enormous horde of mutants. I'm just gonna play the whole clip. I absolutely wrecked them with my crowbar. You can find your first collectible here. Wait, what is that? NMA? As in no mutants allowed? I've always been more of a Fallout New Vegas or 3 kind of guy, but okay. I mean, I don't know, man. The website's older than I am. Like, Jesus, man. After that blast from the past, we fight the only group of bandits in this entire level. Then we fight some more mutants. We also found the station here that's broadcasting some voice that keeps spouting some numbers, those numbers being 1221.
1, 2, 2, 1.
It's probably not important. After that, you find some gas in a garage where you get jumped by a bunch of mutants. You could actually cheese this fight by putting a pipe bomb at each of the doors here, even though I only do that with one door. You also meet these big-ass mutants here, and they've got napalm launchers and just a ton of health. Yes, you can get that napalm launcher, but for right now we're stuck with our small arms. Some shotgun shells, a couple cylinders of revolver ammo, and some 9mm ammo, and he goes down pretty easy. You could have just left without killing him, but come on, man, really? You're gonna do that? Anyways, once you leave the second level, you end up at the first social hub of the game, the Wall. It's this old power-generating dam that got turned into a small settlement. We have a trader contact here named Smiley, who's a scavenger describes as borderline mobster. I mean, come on, look at him. He's got a pimp coat. Nevertheless, he gives us $100 and offers up a job. He wants us to deliver a package to someone named Riggs in Michonne Circle, which is in the middle of the city. If you just talk with him, you start map 3, which is Highway Holocaust, but if you go talk with the barkeep here in the bar, obviously, he'll give you a job to clear out the dam, which is full of raiders. You meet with an associate of his out back, which is a woman named Fortune, and she'll make a bet that if you clear out the dam, she'll give you a custom shotgun. So this level is really short, but it's a decent enough time. It was only recently added to the re-release of the game, and like I said, it's really goddamn short. Did I mention that it's short? Yeah, that's really all this level has to it. Let me think. Oh, there's this cool fight in the main room where you get to fry some thugs with electricity. That's cool, I guess. Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna move on. Once you leave here, Fortune will show up and fulfill her end of the deal. The new shotgun has a darker paint job, but as far as I can tell, that's it. It might do a little bit more damage or have a tighter spread, but everything, at least on this difficulty, goes down with one shot to the normal shotguns, so I don't know what the point of this is. I mean, it's a cool thing that you can get, but whatever. She blabbers on about local politics, but whatever, I'm not here to dabble with that crap. Anyways, after that we go to the real third map, which is Highway Holocaust. It's the most bike-heavy level in the game. I mean, even then you only spend like half the level with it. I think making the road super wide kind of alleviated the whole bike handling like ass thing, since there's a really wide margin for error here. In fact, it's actually pretty fun riding down these open roads. You stop off at this warehouse, junkyard place, and kill a bunch of raiders. After that, you arrive in the city, and you just leave the bike there, and we never see it again. I mean, that always bugged me. Like, the scavenger is just okay with leaving his bike in some underground parking lot after the next string of levels. You just go further and further into the city and never go back for it. But, moving on. After that, you enter a police station, which is one of my favorite areas in the game. It's nicely designed. You've got a couple evidence rooms to stock up on ammo. There's even a functioning interrogation room with one-way glass. There's also this car, which some crackhead must have crashed through here. Wonder who that could have been. The only other thing you can find in the police station that's of note is the Mac-11, or the 9mm machine pistol, as this game calls it. It's the only automatic weapon in the game, but it's all you're going to need. It's inaccurate as hell under sustained fire, so you've got to use short, controlled bursts, but it's fine enough as is. You leave the police station by leveling this building here by shooting a couple explosive barrels. I don't know why that really makes sense with me, but moving on. You'll be going through this building here. I couldn't tell you what it's supposed to be. Then you go down and come out into this train station here, and there's a bunch of guys down there. And if you're playing like I am, you can get the drop on them. Anyways, after that, you jump down into this pit, which takes you to the sub-caverns. So these sub-caverns here are actually one of my favorite levels in the game. Upon first impression, it may look like a sewer, but it's not. It's just a section of large, flooded subway tunnels. They're infested with mutants, too, every shape and size. There's also this new type of mutant, which is this weird spore carrier sac type thing that explode when you kill them. I just took to plinking at them at long range using my .45 revolver. These explosions also hurt enemies, and I have killed other creatures with their death explosions before. This level is actually pretty open-ended. There's multiple side paths that only provide you with some extra loot and supplies. Like this one here, which not only gives you a backpack, which allows you to carry more ammo. It's not like the one in Doom, though. It only marginally increases your ammo capacity instead of doubling it. We also encounter a new enemy, the Haunts, which are just these weird ghost things that throw purple balls of something that do a lot of damage. They telegraph it so well that I can still just easily take out groups of them with the crowbar. And after that, they just kind of die and fizzle out of existence. In this area, you can also find a guitar, which is our second collectible. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a stock reference or if it's just some guy's guitar, but moving on. Anyways, after you go through this level, you effectively come into Crossroads. You could go to Michonne Station, or go to the secret level. We'll be going to the secret level, and if you don't want to do that, then skip to the timestamp that I'm going to place on screen right now. Okay, so, back to the secret level. You have to find the yellow keycard, which is found by going off the beaten path, and it's at the end of some parkour. Once you do that, you have to go through the level like so, and once you reach this fork in the road, you go to the door here that requires a yellow key, turn on the gas, and then burn your way through these vines blocking the exit. Anyways, after that, the secret level is the Temple of the Dollar, which is my favorite level in the game, so it's a shame that it's a secret. It's set around this dilapidated shopping center, which is absolutely stuffed with references to other games and movies, like this game store, which has a mancubus that fucking jump scares you. His sound is off because I'm using a free Doom wad instead of the original Doom 2 wad. You also get the final collectible in the game, which is this Cacodemon plushie in a secret room behind the counter. There's also this awesome shootout inside of the food court here, and it gives me a perfect window to talk about this game's movement, which is superb. It gives the same vibes that the first Blood game gave, where crouching is incredibly important to your survival. However, unlike in Blood, where it just throws the aim off of the hit scanners, here it actually allows you to duck and dive between waist-high cover that allow you to dodge incoming fire. Incoming fire in and of itself is also a projectile instead of a hit scan, which is nice. I feel like it takes the most desirable parts of both modern shooters and old-school boomer shooters and mixes them into a fine sauce that makes the gameplay feel so fluid. I'm not even sure if that was intentional or not, it's just something cool that I picked up on. Before you leave, you can also find the double-barreled shotgun inside of a secret here, which is pretty damn good. It's not Doom 2 Super Shotgun good or Blood Shotgun good, but it's powerful enough. Once you leave, you still end up in Michonne, where Smiley's contact is. The dude's name is Riggs, which I think I mentioned earlier, I don't remember. And he makes weapons. When he pays you for the courier job, you can bug him enough to make sure that he works on your Mac 11, and he'll give it a silencer and increase its damage, which is nice. This hub is also packed full of crap to see, like these pit fights between mutants or the bar where you can buy some drinks. However, once you leave the game throws its most impressive level at you. Once you leave the tunnels, you emerge in the city during a nasty radstorm. The sky is bleached blood red and your Geiger counter constantly ticks when you're outside. Even though I said that the Temple of the Dollar is my favorite actual level in the game, this level is completely awesome. In terms of scale, it's absolutely enormous. It also has my favorite musical track in the game that feels like it was practically pulled directly out of a peak John Carpenter movie. You've got all the weapons now, you've met all the monsters, it's just an all-out bloodbath as you carve a path to the Spire, which is something of importance. I'm not really sure. I lost the plot of this game after the middle third. This is where, only if you skip the sub-caverns, you meet these trash hopper things. They fly around and swarm you if you're not careful. My best strategy is to do some skeet shooting with the Junker Musket, which is this game's last weapon. It's a converted lever-action shotgun that only fires shotgun slugs and is basically a sniper rifle, and really, I don't care for it. It's introduced too late to make a big splash, too. It's not important. What is important is this absolute bloodbath of a battle that you fight in near the end of the level. I'm just gonna play the entire thing for you here. Absolutely fucking savage. Once you clear out the building, you drop down into the depths and discover some sort of military installation deep below the surface. You need a code to enter the base, which ended up being 1221, that string of numbers from the second map, which is, quite the coincidence. You carve a path through the base, killing anything in your path when you come across this bizarre server room, and inside is a super sentient artificial intelligence. She was the one that was broadcasting the string of numbers over the radio in an attempt to lure people to the base. She says that there's someone or something that we need to kill or something. No, I don't really know. I just skipped this part because I want to kill the boss because, yeah, this is the final level. She gives us the yellow keycard, which we can use to open the on-site armory and stock up on ammo and armor. The final boss is inside of the command center, and I place just every pipe bomb that I have in it and attempt to do as much blast damage as possible to it as soon as it walks out of its closet. When you let him out, he's something. He's like two different creatures that have been spliced together. One throws pipe bombs and the other hits scans and flames you. When the first half dies, the other one becomes more aggressive and just starts fucking blasting you as soon as he sees you. This is why I save up all of my stims for this fight, so I can just piggyback them until the end of the game. Once he dies, the underground structure starts to fucking collapse and we somehow survive this. And that's it, the game ends on a shot of the scavenger holding a small statuette as he climbs out of the rubble. What a way to kick off this fucking series, man. This game is absolutely awesome. My entire playthrough was only about an hour and a half long, but then again, it was a fun hour and a half. I mean, I spent barely any time in this playthrough doing any backtracking or playing through any filler parts, but then again, this is because I've got about a dozen playthroughs under my belt at this point, so your playtime may vary. I really do encourage you to go and pick up this game. It's literally free and it's absolutely exceptional, one of the best Doom mods I've ever played. But we're still not done with Ashes just yet, however. Okay, well, it's not DLC. It's a 4-map custom expansion pack for a Doom mod. Even though my opinion of this isn't the highest, I still think it's quite impressive. The only reason I'm covering it now is because it's so short and I didn't want to have to come back to the first game, so I'm throwing it in here. Honestly, I am still really conflicted on whether or not I really do enjoy this expansion, because it does have some cool and nifty ideas, but on the other hand, it's absolutely ball-busting at times. The entire thing was made by a different guy, and to say the least, good job! Sure, it has its problems, but this expansion is overall a good time. The music is pretty good, though. In fact, the music's actually some of the best in the series, even against Episode 2. This should be no shock considering the fact that the Primeval is back for the soundtrack. It's great, but we're going to be moving on to the game now. At the start, you get jumped by some goons and you have your bike stolen. I'm not sure if this takes place before or after 2063, but in reality, I don't care. Anyways, when you start, you've got a crowbar and 8 health. In this first level, you're definitely going to be hurting for health. Since you start with none, you'll have to scavenge for it. This old dude in the gas station area you got jumped leaves us with some info and a nice solar lantern. How nice of him. The whole not having a gun thing isn't that bad, since you're playing this like I am, you'll be an absolute crowbar god by now. You fight mutants in the early level here anyways, which are crowbar fodder as is. You do get some guns eventually, obviously. The 9mm autoloader is up first. I don't even fire it a single time through this entire expansion because you can get a machine pistol in this first level too. And a sawed-off shotgun, which is way earlier than any other of the games in this series. This actually means that it has some use since you find it before you can come across a pump action. The weapons across the board are actually the same, except for one that we're going to get to in a little bit. There isn't much to speak on in terms of the first map here. There's this cool fight into a warehouse, which I can cheese by stealthing it with the crowbar. There's a dozen bug dogs and trash mutants crammed in there, so it can be kind of a pain in the ass if you do it loud. There's also a short sewer section. I'm not going to pass like the flooded subway. This definitely is a sewer section. At least the flooded subway had trains. It's also filled with the spore carriers from the sub-caverns. Once you escape, you find this dude in a basement that tells you that the local bandits are called the Rippers. They're the ones who took your bike, at least you're assuming. Once you leave the basement that he's in, you immediately come across a gigantic stronghold of these Rippers guys. They're all dressed like pirates, which is new to the re-release, which I guess is neat, so, you know, it differentiates them from the original guys. The only other difference is that the 9mm guys have 2 pistols instead of 1. I'm also convinced that they all have a little bit more health than the goons in the base game, but moving on. So after you clear all these guys out from this fast food joint, this farm, and this government building, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but anyways, after you do that, you find a bunker that's got some dudes in it, one of them being named Baker, and he's got some information for you. He tells you that the Rippers are based out of an old abandoned power plant, so obviously we make plans to go there, not before we buy a suppressor for our Mac 11, though. It has the same function that it did in the first episode. The next level starts with another sewer section, great. This one can at least easily be cheesed now that we have the 9mm machine pistol that has a silencer on it. This section really ain't all it, though. However, once you emerge from the sewers, the level finally gets good. The rest of this level kicks ass, honestly. It's really damn good. You fight your way through an encampment of bandits that's holed up in this old train yard, which gives this really cool aesthetic. Once you pull through the bandits, you come across a mutant stronghold, which you can kind of sort of camp in this secret room here and kill most of them with the crowbar, but moving on. After that, you find your way into a strange wasted disposal dump place. To leave, you have to find the blue key, and you see it there on the small pedestal, so obviously that's a trap. So you pick it up and you're like, okay, what are you going to throw at me? Maybe some bug dogs, a couple cannibals. No, it's 3 of those fucking kingpin mutants that are ready to throw down. I'm going to start calling them kingpins since they're big as hell and they have napalm launchers. I don't know if they'll be able to find a pimp coat in their size though, but whatever, that's not my problem. Once you escape outside, you find the battle rifle and it replaces the Joker musket. It's the game's best weapon. It's got a 20-round magazine that can take down most standard enemies in a single shot. Not to mention the fact that it's still laser precise. After you find it, this level is pretty much over. You go through a motel and then leave to the power plant. You can't go through though. This clown dressed like a founding father as the king. You need to talk with him before you can go. You could just kill him, or, you know, talk him down. Or do both, which is what I did. He could also sell you things, but I didn't bother buying anything from him because, you know, it's just more fun to shoot him. Once you go through, oh boy, the game throws its worst trick at you. This area with all the trash hopper things and it just throws hordes at you. But whatever, it's fucking horseshit. Whatever, once you go through, you get to the plant where the Rippers are holed up, and this place is chock full of them. The battle rifle somewhat mitigates this, and since it, you know, kicks ass, I mean, damn, why didn't they put this in the main episode after they rebalanced it? This thing is awesome. The only real room of note here is the spoiler room that had me reload a save more times than I'd like to admit. Once you get through that, though, you inadvertently cause a meltdown that you do by, you know, blowing up these explosive barrels next to some dangerous machinery. So you have to scramble to find your bike before the entire place self-destructs. Once you do, you still need a key to open the garage, which is in this goddamn hell room full of hit scanners, which is the game's final challenge. I just pop a regen stim and spray and pray with my battle rifle. Once you leave, the ending monologue rolls, and that's it. That's the final piece of Ashes 2063 related content here. This last expansion was kind of ball-busting, but overall it was still a pretty good time. Overall, I really did enjoy my time with Ashes. I still love this game to death. It's one of the finest FPS experiences I've had in a very long time, and frankly, I'd have 20 dead men walking so we could have one Afterglow. And oh boy, when we get to Afterglow...